Now to the events that continue to unfold in Venezuela, certainly chaos in the streets there as Nicolas Maduro is not stepping away and seeing no signs of that. Juan Guaido calling for a military uprising in the streets there. There was an interaction I want to ask you about this week, and it happened with a freshman member of Congress, Ilhan Omar. She took on the Trump administration and blamed the Trump administration for what we're seeing unfold there. Here she is in her own words.
A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela, and we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today.
You responded to her directly in a tweet, Mr. Vice President, and you said, as Venezuelans take to the streets to stand for their freedom against an oppressive dictator, Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar chooses socialism over freedom, you wrote. The Trump administration stands with the freedom-loving people of Venezuela. Why did you feel compelled to respond?
Well, because the Congresswoman doesn't know what she's talking about. Nicolas Maduro is a socialist dictator who's taken what was once one of the most prosperous nations in this hemisphere and brought it literally to a level of deprivation and oppression and poverty that we have never seen. 9 out of 10 people in Venezuela live in poverty. 3 million people have fled Venezuela. That's not a result of U.S. policies. That's a result of the dictatorship and socialism that has been imposed on the people of Venezuela by Nicolas Maduro. And from early in this administration, President Trump has made it clear the United States is not going to stand idly by while the people of Venezuela suffer under oppression and dictatorship and socialism. We've taken decisive steps and made it clear Nicolas Maduro has no legitimate claim to power, and Nicolas Maduro must go. I couldn't be more proud of the way President Trump directed our administration to be the first nation on earth to recognize Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela. Now more than 50 nations have joined us. Nations all across this hemisphere, all across the world are standing with us, and we're going to continue to stand with the legitimate president of Venezuela and with the National Assembly until freedom and democracy are restored.
When's the last time you talked to Juan Guaido? Have you spoken with him recently?
I met with Juan Guaido. Of course, our administration's in regular contact with him and with many of the opposition leaders in Venezuela and with leaders across the region. But I met Juan Guaido when I traveled to Colombia just a few short months ago. I have to tell you, this is a remarkably courageous young man. He and his wife Fabiana have stepped forward to lead their nation back to freedom. But the very idea that the United States is somehow responsible for what's happening in Venezuela is absurd.
But
what's happening in Venezuela is a result of dictatorship and oppression and the socialist policies that Maduro and his predecessor imposed on this once prosperous nation.
There, of course, is a fair question, Mr. Vice President, how far the United States should get involved. We heard Secretary of State Mike Pompeo say this week all options are on the table, and that includes military options. How involved are we at this point, first of all?
Well, we've put unprecedented sanctions on the Maduro regime, on individuals in the regime and on enterprises in the regime. We've marshaled unprecedented diplomatic pressure.
What about the military option?
We're going to continue to do all of that, but all options are on the table. I mean, for more than 2 years, President Trump has made it clear that we reserve all options, and the capacity of the United States of America to pursue our interests in this region are unquestionable.
Is there a tipping point? Are we there?
Well, I think the President said yesterday there's always a tipping point, but we hope for a peaceful transition of power in Venezuela. That's why we're going to continue to stand strong. We're going to continue to pave the way for a better, brighter future for the people of Venezuela, continue to stand with Juan Guaido. And I have to tell you, I think every American should be proud of the stand that President Trump has taken for freedom in this hemisphere by standing with the freedom-loving people of Venezuela.
Okay, we will see where all of that goes, and I know you've got a big day today, Mr. Vice President. You're heading down to Louisiana to